I just want like a random spreading of them along the side of that landscape. May just pop one more through here, but make it smaller. So if I duplicate this one, and scale it back. And we'll move it down, move it back around here. And we'll just rotate it till we get it into an interesting looking shape.
If I run away, know that you're better off. 'Cause I've made my mistakes, hoping I won't get caught. I'm wanting it on the run tonight. I'm guilty of all my sins. I'm haunted, won't make it out alive. I am a fugitive. I don't break all the rules they said. They just don't, they don't apply to me, babe. I don't break all the rules they said. They just don't, they don't apply to me, babe.
That should be good. Again, I just wanted something to break up just that large empty section through between that rock and that rock. I'm just going to pull back and check everything from a different angle. I think that should be okay. It should be all we need for that part of the landscape there. And we've textured it up down to around about here. I may just throw one more rock. Maybe around here. Again, let's grab one of these and copy it and duplicate it. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it from way back here, so it gives me a better idea of what it's looking like. So rotate it around in all sorts of directions till we get a shape we like. Now we'll move in a bit closer so we can place it a little bit better. Again, I'm just going to jump back here and look at it from a distance. And that should be fine. Again, I want to avoid covering the entire side of the hills here with large boulders, but that should be fine. And that's about down to where we've textured. We've textured up to about here. So all right. Now I have brought in some plants. Generally what I like to do is I like to texture up the entire landscape, place the rocks, and then do the painting of the plants. But I think what I may do here is place some what we call hero plants. In this case they're going to be ferns, just amongst some of these rocks. Because I would prefer to place them by hand. They're a hero object, so they're a higher poly than what I'm going to be using for any ferns that I paint in the background here up on the hills. And they're high res because the camera is actually going to come quite close to them when we sweep it through here during our cinematic. So I want to make sure that the ferns here are looking as good as they can. And I have brought in one that I've created in SpeedTree. If we go to foliage, I've actually created quite a few different plants here that I'm going to be using. But the one I'm talking about here is the Western Sword Fern, the hero one. And again, these are all animated, so they move in the wind. Subtle. Again, I'm not creating a level where it's like in a hurricane and everything's blowing around like mad, which you can do in SpeedTree. You can make them move any way you like. We're just going to place these ones by hand, these hero ones by hand anyway. So and again, I'm going to be duplicating them because duplicating them will use the least amount of memory. And you're not going to notice it's the same plant because all these ferns look pretty much the same anyway. Going to rotate this one slightly forward. Make sure it's actually sitting down on the ground. Let's grab those two and duplicate them again. Let's put some up here in the sun so we can see them a little bit better. I think we'll have them growing out down near the cracks in the rock.
I wanna go to a place where I can feel the rain again. I wanna reach the mountain where I can soar.
Okay, let's get another, let's copy these two and put some behind the two that would be first place, just to make that grouping look a bit more thick. I want to move this one up. I'm also going to angle this one forward a little bit as well. Let's get some down here in the base of the rock. Going to rotate both of those around. Alright, I think a couple around here would look good as well, so again I'm going to duplicate these two. Make sure that they're sitting actually behind that rock, so pull it down a bit. I'm actually going to pull this one forward a little bit. Okay. I think maybe a couple through here would look good, so again I'm going to grab this grouping of 4 and duplicate them. And pull them down. That was a bit too far. I'm going to rotate that grouping around. And I'm going to pull them down. Now I'm going to have to adjust them individually because some of them are a little higher than the others. So this one here, I want to take this one up.
The setting could hardly be more perfect. New eyes, new vision for the world.
There's one in the background there. Where is that?
Unparalleled blending of science and art.
And this one here, I'm going to pull this one forward.
Person to control a complicated sound synthesizer quickly enough. A computer can take over much of this control work and do it more quickly.
And again, I just want to make sure it is actually touching the ground itself, and it is. Good.
Just the beginning.
Alright. I just want the ferns here and there. I don't want to cover everything with fern. I'm going to place other plants around here anyway. I'm thinking maybe... I think some ferns up on the top through here would look quite good as well. So again, we're just going to grab a couple of them and duplicate them. I'll rotate them. And again, I just want to make sure that they're sitting down in the recess of that rock a bit. This one here I think needs to be rotated around a little. And we'll move it back in just a little bit. Pull that one up and move it back just a bit. Make sure they're all moving like they should. Yep, they look fine. And I think another couple through here. So we'll grab these two. Oh. And we'll duplicate them. Walking through this wasteland. My eyes are fixed on the horizon. Holding on to what I am. Now, because these are hero objects and they are quite high poly, well, when I say high poly, you know, they're higher poly than what you'd use in the background. I'm not going to throw too many of these around. Just a few here and there that we can mix amongst our grass and other plants. Again, I'm going to rotate this one around. Needs to come forward just a bit more. I'm just going to pull this one forward a little more as well. Again, all I'm going for here with these hero ferns is just to spread them out here and there. around the outside of the rock here to make an interesting looking grouping. I'm going to do that on all of the rocks eventually. I think it needs a couple just down here on this end just to balance it out a bit more. And remember, by duplicating them, we're using less memory. Thank you, Sniper Echo. I'm glad you like the rocks. They were created in ZBrush. I made them in ZBrush, and they're actually low poly rocks. I textured them up in Substance. So if we look at the last one I did yesterday, which is this one, it's actually low poly from a high poly. So the high polygon mesh is the one that has all the detail, and the low poly mesh is it's just a low poly mesh with a high poly baked into it and textured up using a smart material here in ZBrush, in Substance Painter. So yeah, sculpted up in ZBrush. You can actually use Eon View to do your rocks as well. You don't have to sculpt them by hand in Mudbox or ZBrush. You can use View to do it. And export them out from View as a mesh. Just rotate those around. And even then, if you do it that way, you can still take them into ZBrush then to add more detail if you want. Just deselect those. I just want to check the grouping we've got here. Just going to pull these forward just a little bit more. Oh. And again, all I'm going for here is a bit of a balance between these different hero ferns, just here and there. Because like I said, we're going to add some tall grass and some snake weed, because I've created a few plants we're going to be placing along the in our landscape. And generally, like I said, I'd avoid doing this until I'd actually finished painting up all of the landscape itself, but that's okay. These sort of things have to be placed by hand anyway, so doing these hero objects by hand is fine. When we come to actually populating the rest of the hills here with trees and with long grass, that won't be done by hand. It'll be more painted in, so there'll be 3D objects, but we won't place them by hand. We may tweak a few by hand, but generally not. And again, I want to avoid using too many of these really high polygon ferns. When I say really high polygon, I think they're about just under 2,000 polys, which isn't bad. And again, I'm not making a game, so I'm not as worried about it as I should be if I was. I'm going to be making a cinematic, and with a cinematic you can afford to go a lot higher than maybe a normal game. And I do have a version of these though that we're going to be using in the background, which are much lower poly. And they're about half the polygons for 4 of them as opposed to 1. So, and they're the ones we're going to use back here on the hills when we start putting a lot more ferns in up back there. And again, these are hero ones just because our camera is going to get quite close to them when we fly through doing the cinematic. So I want them to look quite nice. Let's throw some ferns through this rock grouping here as well. So let's grab a bunch of them. And duplicate them again. And where do I want to put them? I think some through here would look quite interesting. Going to rotate that group around. And I'm going to rotate them forward a bit to better match the angle of the land underneath that they're going to be attached to. I'm going to have to place a few of them by hand because they're at different angles, so do you want to pull them forward a little bit more though. Let's start moving them. Again, you see everything's lightened up. That's Unreal's, I don't know what they're calling it. They're dynamic sort of lighting thingy. So when you get into a shadowed area, it lightens up, and when you look at the sky or the ground, it gets darker. And again, you can turn that off if you don't like it. I quite like it. It can make positioning things a bit of a pain, but I can work with it. Again, I'm just making sure these are actually touching the ground behind them. Okay. I think a few through here will look interesting, again, just to break up that rock line a little bit. So I'm just going to grab a couple of them. And I also think a few through here, again, to balance it up. Remember guys, when every time I talk to you guys and talk about when you do your renderings or when you're doing a composition, to always try and make sure everything stays balanced. And it's no different here when you're placing objects in, even in a 3D world like this. Even though you're not going to be rendering an image like that, you still look at your environment and from different angles and make sure everything still looks balanced. So we're going to do that here with these ferns. Again, I'm just going to duplicate them, and because I want some over here to balance this up. And again, that just creates that balance between this side and this side. I also think maybe a couple up here again to try and balance. These ferns will grow anywhere that it can find a bit of a rooting, so the fact that they're growing up here on a rock is not unusual. Let's just rotate those around a little bit. Going to rotate this one forward a little bit more. Alright, now we just need a few down here, I think. So again, I'm going to grab a grouping I've already done from over here. Maybe these three. And we'll pull them down. I'm going to rotate them around so they better fit that section we want to place them in. Now there is one hidden back in the rock here that I'm going to have to move. I'm going to move them both out for a minute. I want to pull this one forward. Move this one down. There we go. Let's just deselect those for a sec. Check our grouping here to make sure everything looks nice and balanced.
When your world feels like it's crumbling now, just know that I'll be around.
Alright, I think if we need any more, we need just a few here. So I'm just going to grab these ones, these two from over here, or these three. How many do I have here? Oh, I've got a group of 4. We'll take that group of 4. Because remember, it's 3-dimensional objects, so we have to check it from every angle to make sure everything stays looking balanced. Let's rotate them around so they better fit the piece of dirt there that they're sitting on. And we'll move them up. Again, I want to rotate them more forward. Pull them over a little bit. Just want to make sure that they're actually sitting on that terrain. And if we have to move them by each individual one, we can do that. So
You mean the world to me. You're everything that I can see.
this one here needs to come forward. And this one here needs to come forward as well. We may bring this one down more toward the front, I think. I'm actually going to rotate them up a little bit. They're on just a bit too much of an angle there. That goes for all of them. I've angled them just a bit too much. Because they're going to try and grow towards the light, but they're not going to grow at an angle like that, parallel to the ground. I'm just checking them here individually to make sure that they are sitting at the right angle. Where is the other one? I've got one here, one here, one here. Where's the third one? Or the fourth one? Sorry, where is the fourth one? Okay. Just going to move you out of the way for a minute so I can see. Okay, alright. We'll pull you forward. Again, I'm going to rotate this one to face this direction a little bit more, that direction a little bit more, just to make it all look a bit more balanced. Okay, we look balanced there. We're balanced there. And that's probably enough for that rock as well. Like I said, I want to avoid trying to cover the entire rock with fern. Oh, no, it's okay. I saw these ones over here. I thought they were floating in the air, but they're actually on the rock, so that's okay. I'm just going to leave my camera here so I can check the wind movement on those to make sure it's not too much or too little. And speed tree here, all of these plants have gusting, so they'll move slightly in the breeze, and then occasionally there'll be a gust of wind that'll move them a lot more. And I change all of that individually for each plant in speed tree by hand with adjustments in the wind parameters. So I just want to make sure I haven't made any adjustments that are not looking right. You don't have to do it by hand. Speed tree does have a wind wizard, they call it, which is more of a one-click button that you tell it what type of wind and what type of plant you want, and it does it automatically. And that works 9 times out of 10, but occasionally I always like to get in there and tweak them individually. I think that should be okay. Just pull back a bit. Alright, now I'm not going to place these hero ferns up here on these rocks in the background because we're going to be using the low res version of them here. I can open that up. These ferns look identical. They're the same plant. They don't have the stamen in the middle. So if I zoom in here a bit, they don't have these stameny bits here in the middle. And they're a lot lower poly. Like you can see here that this is 1,380 tries. That's for 4 of them, a group of them. And they're the ones I'm going to use in the background here because they're much lower polygon. And they also have, these don't have lot on them. These ones do. Most of the trees and plants that I'm using for hero trees, like these ones, they have a lot on them as well. So if I zoom back here, I'm not sure how far I have to go back, but you should start seeing the lotting pop in the closer we get. Yeah, you can see it there. If you look at the tree here, it changes lot depending on how far away I am from the tree. And I generally will only add lotting to high-res hero objects. Anything low-res that's going in the background, I just make sure it's low poly enough that I don't need lotting. Simply because when the camera moves, I don't want things popping in and out in the background here. And if you lodge your trees and things in the background, you run the risk of, when the camera starts animating up the drive, that things start popping in and out. Just something to be aware of if you're doing lotting. I mean, lotting is really useful and handy, but just be careful where you use it as well. Alright. We may actually leave it there for today, I think, guys. I'm going to make sure I save my file here. I will be back on again on Monday next week. So Monday 5 PM next week. I do want to thank you guys very much for hanging out and watching the stream with me. Remember, if you're not sure when I'm live, my schedule doesn't change. It's every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, US time at 5 p.m. Pacific time. You can keep an eye on my Twitter page at PhilDoes3D because I do always post 15 minutes before I go live. Not 15, 10. I always post to my Twitter page now when I'm live. That the countdown will be on for 10 minutes when you see my post go up on Twitter. So I've just made a bit of a change there. So when I post on Twitter, I'm live and the countdown to 10 minutes is on. So if you're not sure, keep an eye on my Twitter page. Again, like I said, guys, I'll be back on Monday next week. I do want to thank you guys very much for hanging out with me and for watching. And Kiori's just started hosting me, which is very nice of you, Kiori, but I'm finishing up now. Yeah, I do want to thank you guys for watching, and I will be back on again on Monday next week. So you guys have a great weekend, and yeah, I'll see you guys on Monday next week. See you guys.